This segment.
Around the movie block with The Rock.
Okay, and before we get to the segment, Rocco, I just want to touch upon, this is actually going to be our first foray together, doing a show together in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I touched upon in the opening, doing a tribute to honor the memory of my friend Seamus Cullen.
Right.
Talk about, from your perspective, how does it make you feel to participate in an event like this, and how much are you looking forward to it, to do this in Manhattan on Wednesday night?
I feel very, very privileged. You know, I mean, I've been with you now for about 6 years now, and I've definitely enjoyed a lot doing this with you in that time. It's been like, we don't just work together. I feel like we really share a great experience, like, you know, a great personal experience. You know, we get to really share in these wonderful things. It's like, you know, we make memories. We have a great time together. You know, and we're doing something really wonderful in this. I think like this is like I feel like this is like a real public service. You know, I think that one of the more admirable aspects of you is the fact that, you know, you really care about people, and I think this is a great opportunity to, you know, take your time out and to really show people how much you care, and to bring people together. And I think that's sort of at the core of what makes you like such a great person, is the fact that you really do care about bringing people together and you know, just giving people a great time. And I think that's a great and admirable quality in somebody. And so I really feel very, very privileged to get to be part of this, and to make, you know, to be in this kind of intimate kind of gathering, and make these people, you know, to give them some sort of solace for, you know, the tragedy that they've been through in their lives and in their families. So I feel very, very humbled and privileged to be doing this with you.
Well, Rocco, I feel the same about you, and
thank you.
I know you have a great heart and a kind heart, and I know
thank
that so many great endeavors we've gone on, from doing shows in Massachusetts and all kinds of charity events and events.
Fun times.
So, and I think this Wednesday is going to be another special occasion. We're looking forward to it, and I'm sure we'll do justice, and it'll be very
really
comforting for friends and family of Seamus. So,
yes.
Anyway, getting to the movie. What movie do you got on tap for us tonight?
Movie I have on tap for tonight is actually, it's connected to one of my favorite movies of all time. It is the new Halloween. It is directed by David Gordon Green and stars Jamie Lee Curtis, who is from the original Halloween. Of course, Halloween is the one of the most classic horror movies ever. It was directed by John Carpenter and starred a very unknown Jamie Lee Curtis. Nobody knew who she was at the time, and it is one of the most iconic horror movies of all time, and one of my personal favorite movies. This time out, this movie, it's 40 years later, and 40 years after an escaped mental patient, Michael Myers, murdered several teenagers in his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois on Halloween night. He escapes once again on Halloween to Haddonfield, where elderly resident Laurie Strode, played by Curtis, who survived an attack from Myers and has long since continued to deal with trauma from the incident, hopes to confront Myers once again in a final showdown. This is the 11th movie in the Halloween franchise. It's been around for a very, very long time now, and it's been through a lot of different incarnations. This movie now, it's interesting because a lot of the previous movies have been kind of stripped away. The only connection to this one is to the original, which I think was a wise move. And putting Jamie Lee Curtis back, you know, the fact that she would even do this movie after, you know, 40 years of doing the original one is definitely, it definitely gives a good magnitude to this particular outing of the movie. You know, unfortunately, where that kind of goes wrong a little bit is the fact that her talent that she brings to this movie, she's definitely still got the good. She's definitely still a phenomenal talent to this day. And unfortunately, a little bit of that is a little wasted here, because the movie sets up pretty good in dealing with something that's not normally in these kinds of horror movies, which is dealing with trauma after a really terrifying incident. But the thing is with this movie, the drawbacks of the movie is that it doesn't spend enough time on this particular character's development. It kind of reverts back to, you know, a lot of, you know, why most people go to these movies, which is to see scary stuff happen and to see shocking moments of people getting, you know, gruesome things happening to them, basically. So it gets a lot of horror fans thrills, you know, with that whole thing. And then but it creates problems for the movie because it creates this kind of weird tone because it doesn't really it's not really sure what kind of movie it wants to be. Does it want to be a movie about what the victim went through? Does it want to be a movie that kind of riffs on Halloween and you know the Halloween movies and the you know slasher movies in general? Or does it want to be kind of this intense thrill ride? So it tries to be all these things, and it doesn't really quite pan out really what it wants to be. I mean, it is entertaining for the most part. There's enough that's you know that keeps the momentum going, so it's not like a total loss. I mean, this movie has been through like this franchise has been through so many movies, and some of them have been you know worse than others. So this is definitely maybe one of the better ones, but that's not really saying very much because like most of the movies have had a really spotty and kind of really shaky, you know, history in terms of their place compared to the original movie. The original movie is still a classic, and you can tell it was a movie that was not really meant to have sequels. But to be charitable, you know, there are a certain segment of the population that loves these movies, and you know, going to see these movies in a theater is a really unique experience. So it's one of those things where it's not something you really want to throw the baby out with the bathwater completely, but given what this movie has, you know, taken shape as, you know, pardon the pun, because the name of the killer happens to be known as The Shape, Michael Myers, but I do feel that, you know, as a movie, it doesn't really stand up. I mean, I think if you like horror movies, it's okay. But I think people outside of that are not going to really get much from this and really feel like this franchise has kind of been a bit past its prime, and it's been kind of, you know, it's been around, you know, the 40 years is starting to show itself, especially since, think about it, you know, the fact that Michael Myers, when the character first was around, he was 21 years old, and then 40 years later, he's now like probably 61. So it really stretches the point of credibility when you think of a 61 you know, supernatural, you know, force of nature going around doing the same old thing. So it doesn't completely stand up to logic. And I mean, given the amount of what you call it, like suspension of disbelief you have to put yourself into to watch movies like this, it doesn't really pass the test really that much for me. So overall, I give the new Halloween 2 out of 5 stars. So thank you.
Okay, Rocco, thank you very much.
Thank you.